Call of Duty campaigns are the video game equivalent of a Hollywood blockbuster. Some end up being as entertaining as a Fast and Furious movie, while others end up being Transformers: The Last Night. God, this movie was trash. With that being said, I've decided to rank each of the Call of Duty campaigns from worst to best, starting with Modern Warfare 3. This campaign is a lot of things, and being a quality experience for the player base to enjoy isn't one of them. It's literally 3 hours long and full of poor level design, lazy level design, questionable plot points, Shadow Graves.
I wasn't in that tank.
Serious?
And nothing but pure shock value to make the player go, what? No way, what? I didn't see that one coming. Guess what? Stevie Wonder could have seen these things coming. This was the first and hopefully the last game to feature a new style of level design called open combat missions, which is basically taking sections of Verdansk and turning them into missions to save time during development. The villain, Makarov, if you look at the original games, is one of the franchise's best villains, being a sociopath who goes on a rampage around the world by setting off nukes, gassing cities, or even kidnapping world leaders. Instead, this Makarov looks more like a frat bro who gives off notice me senpai energy and focuses most of his reign of playground bullying on one country. Also, the soap death, spoilers, was a complete and total joke and made me cry. From laughter, as the game abruptly ends like the developers didn't know how they really wanted to end this thing. And you can't even blame Sledgehammer because all this was developed in the span of a year to justify a $70 price tag. Not to mention Infinity Ward, the studio behind Modern Warfare 2, had creative control over the campaign and other elements of the game. That way, it fit into what was being done with Modern Warfare 2. In what world does it make any sense to give a studio that has the creativity of a toddler doing finger paintings in art class to have any say over anything? Fuck! You moron. You absolute fucking moron. Good riddance. Sorry, I went on a little bit of a thing there. The campaign was lazy, disorganized, and boring. There. Black Ops 4. Is it petty of me to say a game that has no campaign has a better campaign than a game that actually has one? Sure. But here's the thing. Black Ops 4 does have a campaign. It's weaved into these sort of tutorial missions that provide backstory for each of the specialists you can play as in the multiplayer, with a story leading to a pretty interesting conclusion. So if they had actually done some sort of story mode, I guarantee you it would have been pretty cool based off what we actually got. I don't really remember anything, but being told I wasn't getting anything and then getting something was a pretty nice surprise. Vanguard. The missions are pretty decent in this game, all the characters are super unlikable. The main villain gives off wannabe alpha energy. Charlie from Lost makes an appearance, spoilers, he dies by the way, where he's basically just Charlie from Lost, but like a Nazi version of that character. A few missions in the campaign are really wonderful to play. The first mission, Phoenix, is a great way to kick off the campaign as it's super action-packed, but then after this mission, it basically all just takes a nosedive off a cliff, where you have Operation Tunga, which is kind of like a starting off as a stealth mission where you evade Germans, which is probably the best part of the entire thing, and then all of a sudden they go, nah, just go shoot a bunch of Germans and you'll be fine. Also, there was that brief period where you could basically play Call of Duty's version of Assassin's Creed that was pretty sweet. The game does try very hard to make you like these characters, but again, they're all super unlikable, outside of maybe Kingsley. Like, that was the only one I actually enjoyed. Like, you have this weird dynamic of Wade and Riggs being basically the same exact character and constantly trying to be the comedic relief of the group. Novak was dead, Webb ends up... and Paulina was just vanilla, but by saying that I feel like that's just a disservice to vanilla products. Oh, also World War II Cormac is in it. He dies. Oh no, wait. He comes back. Also, the ending was an absolute joke and did not feel deserved by any means. It's also weird because it kind of feels like they tried to set up a sequel. Black Ops 3. Christopher Nolan's Black Ops 3 is wonderful if you're willing to spend the time looking at subreddit posts, YouTube videos, TikToks, that explains what the campaign was about. It features that one guy from that TV show my grandmother loves, and has a main character that's as plain as a chicken tender. I would love to sit here and explain what this campaign was about, but again, I have no idea. There was something about a frozen forest, a train going boom, and like a bunch of cybernetic stuff, and like your arms getting ripped off by robots. It's like super confusing, and again, if you play this campaign, you're gonna spend 90% of your time going through subreddits trying to figure out what the hell's going on. You do have access to like this cool loadout customization feature that allows you to customize your loadout based off however you want to play in each mission. That's probably like the best aspect of the entire game. The missions are okay, there's Michael Bay level action, but I'm not entirely sure what Treyarch was trying to do with this campaign. So if you're willing to spend tons of time on Reddit or like YouTube to understand how this story actually works, then go for it, but I don't recommend it. Modern Warfare 2 2022. The things this game did will forever linger about this franchise like a wet fart in an elevator. In terms of the campaign though, it's an alright experience. Like, yeah, it has a couple cool missions here and there, but they seem to like have this problem in terms of gameplay balancing. Like, they'll start off with a sneak gameplay mission, then they'll just jump into this really high intensity action mission, to you just driving straight on like a highway for about 20 minutes. Or in some cases, you'll play a mission and use gameplay mechanics that will never come back. Or better yet, they'll come back for the most anticlimactic boss battles ever. I will admit though, the performances from all the voice actors in this game is unbelievable. And I do feel like the overall game has a very good story up until this point in the game. And then after this point in the game, everything just falls off a cliff because they were like, so where do we go now? Because we have two different stories happening and we need to make them connect. The villains themselves are pretty weak. Like if you boil down Shepard and Graves as villains, they're just like idiots that lost nukes and are trying to cover it up. And then they forgot about this guy who I forgot his name because he was that unimportant for like 90% of the game. Overall, it's a very weak story. Like, it has some cool moments in the game. The voice acting and the performances by said voice actors is incredible. The animations, the graphics are unbelievable. But my god, the story as an overall is not very good. Also, inserting gameplay mechanics like halfway through the game and then just abandoning them until like the very end of the game is just so stupid. Black Ops Cold War. It's basically Black Ops 1, but during the 1980s. This is one of those campaigns that I'm just kind of like, meh with, because while I like the characters, the overall premise, a couple of the missions are really cool, it just kind of like is okay. Like I feel like the way they laid out all the missions is pretty wonky because they allow you to pick each mission and allow your choices to kind of mean something by the end of the game. But I feel like this mission structure just was too all over the place for me and it was hard for me to kind of follow along. I mean, I picked up on it pretty quickly towards the end. There were two big things that I really enjoyed. Well, three, because I really liked Adler's hair. I enjoyed the character customization because it allowed me not to only just customize my character's skin tone or even some of the perks, but even the name of the character where I could be things like
Hingle McCringleberry.
Leroy Jenkins.
Fudge.
in that one mission where you're like kind of starting to get this revelation as to what's really happening. You're kind of going through doors and tunnels, and you can ignore Adler, which is pretty fun to do because he starts to get more and more mad. By the way, I chose the bad ending. Yep, I chose the bad ending. Spoiler for anyone that's never played this, you can choose between a couple different endings. Like, one ending could just be like you being the hero and saving the day. The other is just you turning on everyone and blasting everyone away. The game does have some very interesting and like enjoyable missions, but again, the whole mission structure was kind of a lot to follow and kind of made it enjoyable. But the best way to put this story is it's like an onion. You start to peel away layers of the onion and start to unravel this core of the story. Am I right?
Yeah, you're the expert in quiet.
I'm a goddamn onion mason.
I'm a goddamn onion mason. What the fuck is that? Who the fuck says that? There's no badassery in that.
World War II. Throw everything you learned about World War II in history class out the window, because this is how Call of Duty does World War II. This is World War II if it were a movie directed by Michael Bay. The entire campaign is a blast to play, from the opening mission of Omaha Beach, to jumping in a jeep and trying to stop a train, to attempting to cross the Rhine. World War II has some of the best missions in the entire game. My only gripe with World War II is the fact they try really hard to do these hard-hitting moments, but each time they come up, they seem to just fall flat on their face because of the absurdity that sometimes will happen around them. All of the performances from the various actors in the game are really, really good, and graphically, this is still like one of the best Call of Duty games graphically that we've gotten in a long time. Like, people don't talk enough about the graphics in this game. Overall, just a wonderful campaign, front to back. The missions are structured well, the characters are extremely likable, but I, again, do believe that they try really hard to do these hard-hitting moments, but just fall flat on their face every time. Call of Duty 4. Did anyone else's pants just get a little bit tighter? No, just me. That's kind of weird. Call of Duty 4 was the franchise's big step into the world of modern combat, something that was being done by very few games at the time. And not only is this game remembered for being one of the best Call of Duty experiences, being the kind of forefather for future games to come, but it had an iconic story mode. This game brought modern warfare to a global scale. In 1 second, you could be playing as an SAS operative boarding some sort of cargo ship to a US Marine defending a tank in a bog. As the game develops, it becomes even more and more of a global conflict that forces these two different groups of good guys, I guess is the best way to say it, to combine forces and work against the big bad guys. To a certain degree, like, it is a pretty basic story, but it's an extremely fun one with a tons of iconic missions and characters. Infinite Warfare. No, this isn't Star Wars, this is actually a Call of Duty game. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare has probably one of the most intriguing Call of Duty campaigns. The reason why this campaign is so high isn't because of the plot, the characters, the villain. It's because of the mission design, the art style, gameplay, and graphics. As a plot, it's like pretty mediocre at best. It's basically just a bunch of space Nazis doing this whole, hey, you have stuff. We want your stuff, so we're gonna take your stuff. The choice to make Jon Snow the main villain is a pretty questionable one, because he just, every time he talks, kind of looks like he's about to cry. Like, he literally just seems like a character that didn't get enough attention from his parents. So making him the equivalent of Space Hitler really just doesn't make sense here. All the main characters are pretty unlikable by my standards. I mean, they all attempt to be this sort of comedic relief, except all the jokes just seem to fall flat. Like, none of the main characters I can really connect with. As they all slowly die off, I just kind of kept shrugging and laughing as each one just kept getting this sort of epic death. You know, it kind of just, all the characters seem kind of robotic, except for, ironically, the one robotic character that seemed to be more human and actually likable than all the other characters. But again, the thing about this campaign isn't about the characters, the plot, or the villain. There's so many great things about this campaign outside of those things. I mean, playing some of the missions are an absolute blast, because you could be doing some sort of space combat, maybe infiltrating a ship, or even experiencing some sort of like lava planet. I mean, the gameplay and the missions and the level design alone makes it so much fun. Again, the plot's not great, the characters kind of suck, but everything else about this is extremely fun and makes it worthwhile playing. Also, shout out to the voice actors and their performances. Whether or not I like the characters doesn't really matter, but the performances on screen are really good. I feel like if you spent more time with these characters, then I'd probably care more, and I feel like all the deaths and the situations that happen would probably be more impactful. Call of Duty Ghosts. Call of Duty Ghosts campaign is a blast to play. To certain degrees, I think there's some errors done, like the main villain, while being very, very good, being able to take a 44 Magnum round underwater, getting sucked down in the water, and then somehow swimming up and capturing the main protagonist has never sat right with me. But I do really enjoy the main villain in this game, and I think that is what really makes this campaign even better. This kind of hunt for the character Rourke, and seeing him try to attempt to dismantle the entire Ghosts, whatever. All the main characters are pretty typical Special Forces dude bros that need to be like the star of the show or have like their big action moment. But the overall story for this campaign is very interesting and very engaging, and takes you on this interesting journey around the world in order to stop this guy Rourke. You also get a dog.
Dog model. We're really excited. Our new dog model.
Advanced Warfare. Besides having Kevin Spacey as the big villain, the campaign does some pretty memorable things. For instance, giving us press F to pay respects. What's always stood out to me with this campaign is the story itself. Like, being able to take down big business Kevin Spacey was an absolute joy. All of the missions were extremely fun, and doing the EXO movement was actually fun in the campaign, not the multiplayer. World at War. One of the darkest campaigns in Call of Duty history, World at War is a big standout because of how dark the campaign's tone actually is. Even though we get part of the game in Russia, we get to experience part of the game in the Pacific. One of the things I truly enjoyed about this campaign is it does not hold back from the gruesome part of war. It's a campaign that really worked hard and really succeeded at keeping the player immersed in the war that they're actually experiencing. Well, besides that whole weird thing with the ray gun, I saw a similar video where someone mentioned how you couldn't name all the Call of Duty World at War characters because the only one you could remember was Reznov, just because of how cool he was and that he was voiced by Gary Oldman, but I disagree. I think the variety of characters in the game, like Polanski, Roebuck, Sullivan, Reznov, and Chernov, were all characters that, to this day, are like stuck in my mind. Like, they weren't like massively impactful characters, but they were at least interesting enough characters that they remained in my brain for this long. And while all the missions are extremely fun and extremely dark and really take you to some places during World War II that you never thought you'd ever really experience, especially in a Call of Duty game, the thing that always stands out to me is the ending of the Russian side of the story, where you end up planting the flag at the top of the Reichstag, is truly iconic. You also get to see some of the zombie characters in the campaign, so that's also pretty neat. the multiplayer's mid. Modern Warfare 2, the first time Call of Duty ever did a sequel for any of the Call of Duty games ever. It's a campaign that has beautiful action set pieces, could literally bring you to tears, and a plot twist you don't see coming but helps tie in what was happening in Call of Duty 4. You also get to see characters like Soap McTavish go from being an FNG to being the captain of 141. Modern Warfare 3, 2011. I told myself I'm not gonna cry this time. I'm not gonna cry this time. Oh my god, I can't do this. Modern Warfare 3 was the epic conclusion to the original Modern Warfare franchise. If you play it as like a standalone thing, makes no fucking sense. But if you're jumping into the third game of a trilogy, that's entirely on you. It's a game that really does kind of give you some sort of closure to all the various characters you've experienced through the course of these 3 games, and really delivers on those hard-hitting moments. Sorry, I can't do it. It's so hard to do this.
Oh no, 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 no! So! No, no, no! So! You have to go now! Get off me!
See, that is how you do it. If you ever want to see how to do a character death, if you ever want to see how to do a character death, you do it like that. Again, there's closure and payoff that has never existed in a Call of Duty campaign before, and I feel like they do this entire campaign so beautifully and close the chapter on this Modern Warfare franchise so well with this. And there's so many different locations, so many different missions that just always stand out with this campaign. I mean, being able to fight in the streets of New York, or even going to Africa on a little stealth mission. This entire game just delivered every step of the way. Modern Warfare 2019. What can I say? I just appreciate the realism that Modern Warfare 2019 brought to the table. I feel like it was a more grounded story than what we've ever gotten in a Call of Duty game before. And it's a campaign that felt more like an interactive movie than just being some Hollywood blockbuster. And I thought it was great to see the rebooted versions of all these various characters that we had gotten in the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare franchise. It's also a campaign that brought various moral dilemmas. And again, it just feels like an actual story that was actually more grounded in comparison to what we've gotten in the past. That was more of a Hollywood, Michael Bay directed blockbuster. Black Ops 1. One of the biggest mindfucks I think I've ever had in a Call of Duty game. Like, as you progress through this campaign, not only do you get some really interesting characters in Hudson, Weaver, Woods, obviously, but it's one of the campaigns that drops one of the biggest plot twists that I kind of wish I could go back to 2010 and re-experience it all over again. The villains in this campaign might be a little weak, sure. Like, they're not over the top or even the best of the best, but they don't need to be. The overall story and the actions that happen throughout it and the big plot twist is what really carries this story and makes it so iconic. Black Ops 2, miles away, the best Call of Duty campaign we've ever gotten. It has an amazing story, it has an amazing villain in Raul Menendez, a really good plot twist. It has the action, being a modern shooter. It has so many different things that make this one of the most iconic Call of Duty experiences in terms of the campaign ever. Like, ever. There's various decisions in this game that you can make that could potentially change the outcome of the entire story, except for one thing. The post-credits scene that features Woods and Menendez rocking out to all the other characters in the game. But if you screwed up any of your little choices, it will reflect in this post-credit scene. Also, forget the whole cake is a lie thing. Like, the wheelchair is a lie. But what will always be a standout in this game is the performance led by Camar de los Reyes as Raul Menendez. Menendez is just miles ahead of any Call of Duty villain that's ever come out before. Yes, even better than Makarov, like by miles. But you can't talk about Menendez without talking about Camar de los Reyes' performance as Menendez. Like, he truly brought the character to life, and unfortunately he passed away in December of last year. Rest in peace. And also thank you for delivering one of the best characters we've ever gotten in a Call of Duty franchise ever. I truly believe there was no one better for this role than him, so again, rest in peace. With all that being said, I'd love to know what you have to say in the comment section below. What is your rankings for the best Call of Duty campaigns? What is your best and worst Call of Duty campaigns? I'd love to know what you have to say in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, great. Maybe consider leaving a like. If you didn't, well, it's not getting much better than this. But if you liked it just enough, maybe consider subscribing because it helps out the channel. Thanks for watching, and well, bye.